session today. I am in London, and it's middle of the afternoon here in London. I'm facilitating from the Tony Blair Faith Foundation office. Sanjay is in India, so it's in the evening for him, and we're very fortunate that he's behind the scenes and has been working with your teachers to make sure all the tech is going to work well for the video conference. Our very special guest, Mary Beth Tinker, is on the west coast of the United States in San Jose, California, and we're absolutely thrilled to have her here today very early in the morning. And I want to welcome our three schools. We have Monterey Tech in Morelia, Mexico. We're thrilled to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to give a very warm welcome to Chief Stealth International High School in Washington State in the United States, and also to Brighton High School in Utah in the United States. So it's absolutely wonderful to have you here today as we discuss civil rights. I want to thank your teachers for preparing you for this video conference today. I look forward to hearing your dialogue and the issues that you're going to be engaging in today. But before we get started, I also want to have just a couple of video conference protocols to remind you of, just to make sure that everything runs well. So as Sanjay said, it's very important to speak very loudly and clearly. Your voice is the most important thing during this video conference. This is your video conference. So we need to understand and to hear you. If for some reason we are not able to understand each other, please don't be shy. Just raise your hand and say, can you please repeat that? Because we want to make sure that all comments, all questions, and all answers are clearly heard and understood. Today in our video conference, we're not going to be having a typical conversation. The goal of our program is to have deeper dialogue with one another. And so I'm going to encourage you all to listen very deeply, not only with your ears, but also with your hearts as well. Listen deeply to the person speaking, and then be ready to ask questions of clarification or to respond with a comment based on what the person has said, and that's going to help us to dig a little bit deeper. So today we're not going to be talking about many issues. We're going to be talking about a few issues, but we're going to dig deeper to really get to the heart of our meaning, of what is meaningful, what is significant to all of you in terms of what civil rights are and how they impact your life, and who are the people who have inspired you and what's motivating you to take action and to make sure that everyone in your community, in your school, in your country is supported and is supported by the laws that are in place, or perhaps there are new laws that need to be made. So that's kind of the area of our discussion and dialogue today. So when we're talking with schools in different parts of the world, oftentimes students look for those similarities. And similarities are great to find, but we find that we learn more when we figure out what those differences are. And then we really ask about those differences to understand those differences. It's that deeper understanding that we're really looking for today. Now, the other thing I want to remind you is that today you are not representing your whole country. You're not representing a particular faith tradition or non-faith tradition. You're not representing your school at all today. The only person that you're representing today is yourself. So it's important to speak from the I perspective and begin your sentences by saying, I think, I believe, my experience is, because we can't possibly have you speak for everyone in your class or your whole community or your whole country. You're just speaking from your I perspective. And we're going to learn a great deal about the diversity within your own classroom, but then also within the classrooms around you. And then the final thing is to please always tell us your name. We want to know who you are. We want to know who is speaking. And then to ask your question or to give a comment. And then when you're finished, just say thank you. And that is a great signal that it is time for someone else to speak. All right? So if you are all ready, if you could just give me a quick wave with your hands, if that all makes sense. Excellent. Wonderful. All right. So we're going to begin by introducing our schools. And so I'm going to ask each school to have one student come to the microphone and please tell us the name of your school, where you're located, and perhaps one thing that you are hoping to get out of the video conference today. All right. So let's begin with our friends in Mexico. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ana Isabel. We are from Tec de Monterrey, Campus Morelia. Morelia is in Mexico, of course, but like center Mexico. Today is partially cloudy, maybe rain, and it's 9 in the morning. And we are very happy to be part of this program and to be able to exchange our opinions and experiences with other people around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Excellent. So now let's go to our friends in Utah. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Adrian Barlow. I'm a senior here at Brighton. Brighton's in Cottonwood Heights, which was like a suburb of Salt Lake. Today I want to learn and get to know each one of you more on a personal level so I can see what I can get out of this video, because I haven't been introduced to very many cultures or faiths. So with civil rights as a topic, it's a big issue in my personal life, and I just want to get the most out of it. Thank you.
We're so glad you have joined today. Thank you so much. Excellent. Now let's go to our friends in Washington. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sophie Boyd. We're at Chief Sealth International High School in Seattle, Washington, and our goals for this conference are to get a deeper understanding of other views and of civil rights in the world. Yeah, thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. So today there are 4 questions that I really want you to keep in your mind as we begin to discuss and enter into dialogue on civil rights. So the first one is, what are civil rights and how do they impact my everyday life? Okay, so what are they and how do they impact my everyday life? I know you've had a chance to think about some civil rights leaders, either past or present. Which civil rights leaders have really inspired you and motivated you to keep this work going, to keep the movement going, perhaps in a different issue, but for you to really be passionate about and to make changes in your own school or your own community? Where in our communities do we see civil rights being challenged? My understanding and looking out and having talked to students around the world, sometimes I think students have made the false impression that civil rights is part of history and isn't something that is alive and happening today and something that we still need to pay attention to. But it absolutely is, and especially not only in the United States but around the world. There are civil rights issues and movements that are very current and very vibrant, and we're going to hear about that today from Mary Beth Tinker, but then also from those of you who have been really thinking about it and what are the issues in our own communities. And then what can I do to make a difference in my own community and in my own school? And then what are the beliefs and values that really inspire me to make a difference? So those are all of kind of the big areas that we're going to look at today. And so as you're thinking, as you're listening, please feel free to engage in any one of these areas of discussion. So as we are listening to Mary Beth talk with us a little bit about her experience, kind of keep those big questions in the back of your minds, all right? So we're very, very, very absolutely thrilled and excited to have Mary Beth Tinker with us today. She has been embarking on a bus tour around the United States for the last couple of years. She has met with so many schools and educators and leaders, civic leaders, legislators around the country, and really been talking with them about civil rights and really continued to empower youth. And all of this comes from her own very personal experience experience when she was 13 years old and the civil and the Supreme Court case that she was part of. I'm going to let her tell her story and tell you how she's continued to be engaged in fighting for the First Amendment, for freedom of speech, for free press, and advocating for the voice of youth in her whole career. As she's worked as a pediatric nurse, she's found ways to continue to do this work in amazing ways. So Mary Beth, we're absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with the students. And now we'd love to hear from you. If you could tell us your story and tell us about your work and some of the big issues that you see that students are engaging with today, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for having me here today. My name is Mary Beth Tinker, and I have been speaking up and standing up as a child and then as a teenager and now to help spread the message that young people all through history have been taking our world forward to a better place, a place of understanding and love and caring, and that the rights that we treasure so much have been used through history to make a better world, and that those rights are for kids too. When I was 13, first of all, my father was a Methodist preacher, and so we went to church every Sunday and we sang songs about Jesus loves the little children and those kinds of songs that we liked so much. But the problem is that the world isn't always as the adults, say it could be, should be. And so as it turned out, not everybody really did love all the little children. Maybe Jesus did, but not everybody did, because the swimming pool in our neighborhood there, it was the late 1950s. It wouldn't allow black children to swim there. And so some of the kids from the church and my dad and others went and complained about that. But when you stand up for, a better way, for love and brotherhood, it's not always popular. And so my father was kicked out of his church and we had to move after that. But that was the way I was raised, to speak up and stand up for what's a better time. And young people are so naturally good at doing that because you have these wonderful qualities. As I travel around and ask kids, what are your great qualities? And they say, like all of you would say, if I ask you right now, what are your great qualities? You'd probably say things like creativity and perseverance, and one I really love, which is imagination. And so you imagine a better way of doing things. You're not satisfied. Maybe it's like a 7th grader told me recently in Ohio, a Midwestern state here in the United States. And she said, well, we're just fresher. And I said, yes, you are. You're fresher. And that's why kids have always spoken up. But you need to have rights in order to speak up. So that's why I like to talk a lot about the First Amendment and the right to free speech and the right to free press. And I have my coloring books too. These are really great. It's called Color My Rights. And it's true stories of kids who have used the First Amendment, used free speech, used the free press, the right to petition to make a difference, make the world better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Now, I'm sure that the students have lots of different questions for you as they've read a little bit about your personal experience and then heard you speak today. And so let's try and have at least 2 questions from each class, and we'll enter into dialogue there, and then we'll go from there. So let's go to the students in Utah first. You have a couple of questions for Mary Beth. Thank you.
I'm Madeline, and I was wondering if you could tell us more about your Supreme Court case. Thank you.
Hi, Madeline, and everybody in Utah. I was just there a few days ago. And yeah, at the Supreme Court case, well, you know, when I was 13 years old, it was Christmas time. And of course, you know, Christmas is all about peace and love. But then on TV, we were watching on the news, it was 1965, and the Vietnam War was building up. There had been about 1,000 soldiers, U.S. soldiers, killed by then. And so on TV, like happens so often, kids watch the news and see adults doing things that they teach us not to do. The adults of the world, you know, seem to be fighting, and they were bombing the huts there in Vietnam, and we would see everything was on fire. It just looked like the world was on fire, and little children were running from their huts, and on the ground there were body bags. The body bags were for the soldiers. And every night on the news they would give a report of how many soldiers had been killed. They called it the body count. Well, for us kids, this was very horrifying and sad, and it was Christmas. And in church, we were learning about peace and love and understanding, and then we looked on TV and saw, you know, war and killing. And so we wanted to do something about it, because kids, that's another great quality of young people. In fact, it's in your brain chemistry. You like to take action. And we wanted to do something. And so the older kids, my brother John and Chris and some of the older kids, they just decided, well, what if we just wear black armbands like this to school? They were black bands made of cloth, and we were just going to wear them on our arms as a symbol of mourning, of being sad. And we also wanted to support a Christmas truce that had been proposed by Senator Robert Kennedy. John Kennedy's brother was suggesting, well, maybe we should have a truce in the war at Christmas, so both sides could try to negotiate for peace. And of course, kids, I think also young people naturally want peace. And to us, that just seemed like such a great idea, such a logical idea. Young people are also pretty logical. You're pretty logical. So we thought, oh, that's a great idea. And but I was very shy, and I was kind of scared about doing it. But in the end, you know, I decided, well, I will try to speak up and stand up for something I believe in. And so I had my armband, and I was going to go to school, but then the principals made a rule against armbands because they heard about our plan. And so, oh no, then I didn't know what to do, because I didn't want to break the rules. I was a good student, you know, and I didn't get in trouble or anything. But yet I thought we should have, you know, our right to express ourselves too, because I had learned about that in school and in my life. I had seen examples of kids speaking up, and so I didn't know what to do. So in the end, I decided I would try to speak up and stand up. And I learned later that there's a great tradition in the world for people doing this, even sometimes when it's against the rules, or even sometimes against the law, like Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela, people like that. You know, they stand up and speak up. And sometimes it's not popular, and sometimes they might even get arrested. But if it's peaceful and you're willing to accept the consequences, which we were, then it helps to move the world forward sometimes to a better place, more equality, more justice. Well, I didn't know about all that. I just knew I was sad about the war. And so when I got to school, I was really scared, and my math teacher was waiting with a pink slip and sent me to the office. And they told me to take off the armband there, Mrs. Tanner, which I did. But strangely, I got suspended anyway. And then my brother John got suspended, and our friend Chris got suspended, a few other kids. And so we tried to go to the school board and change their mind, but they wouldn't change their mind. Well, there's a group called the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, and they've been standing up for the Bill of Rights for many years, which doesn't make them very popular either, but they keep speaking up, for the rights of people to disagree and to speak up. So they offered a lawyer to my family, and it went to court. Well, I kept growing up. I, was then in 9th grade and then 10th grade. We lost at the district level. We lost at the higher level, the appeals level of court. And the lawyers argued back and forth, but, the school said, well, they broke the rules, But our lawyer said, well, yeah, but they didn't disturb anyone or hurt anyone, and they have a right to express themselves in school. And so finally it was appealed to the Supreme Court, which hardly takes any cases. They don't have time to listen to very many cases each year, but we were so happy when they took the case. And so then in 1969, the Supreme Court ruled by 7-2 that neither students or teachers leave your rights when you walk into school. And this is my favorite thing. The Supreme Court ruled that students are persons under our Constitution with rights and responsibilities also. So it was a great day for students, not only just for us, but for students all over the country, and really the implications for the world as well, because this is very much an international issue, and young people are speaking up all over the world, which is so wonderful to see, and that's why I'm so happy to be part of this program. Yes, there are limitations on your rights. The Supreme Court ruled that students, have free speech, except you cannot disrupt school. You cannot substantially disrupt school, and they said that in the ruling. And students also cannot impinge on the rights of others. So that goes with all of our rights. It goes with the First Amendment. We all have limitations because other people have rights also. But it was a great ruling for the rights of students and young people. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's such an inspiring story, but I can't imagine all of the emotions that went into that. I'm sure the students have many follow-up questions. Go ahead in Utah. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wesley Sawyer. I'm a junior here at Brighton High School, and I just had a question for you about what other civil rights leaders in this nation have you collaborated with over the course of your life? And if you could maybe name them and give a little example of what you've done with them, that'd be cool. Thanks.
Other civil rights leaders? Well, I'd say a lot of the people that I've been collaborating with have been not, well-known people or well-known names. A lot of the people are young people. Maybe a 13-year-old who's speaking up in her school about how animals are treated. And so, maybe she's, having some, petition about animal treatment, or maybe it's a 15-year-old who's trying to change the way their school deals with the environment. Like one school, it turns out a lot of the kids had asthma, and they were all using their inhalers. And they started wondering why, and then they went out and looked around the neighborhood and found out that a lot of factories were not following the law when it came to, pollution from this. So the kids started going to hearings and things like that. So a lot of the people are, people that you may not know their names, and they're young people also. But that's also my message, that history is really made by ordinary people like me, and they may not, you may not know them, you may not hear their names. I could tell you about 11-year-olds through history. Hannah Hansen, she started the Factory Girls Association back in the 1800s because young people have built our world, helped to, work in all the factories, the farms, the plantations. So young people have been part of all that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now let's go to Mexico. I'm sure we have some questions or some comments based on what you've heard. Thank you.
Well, hi, my name is Roxana, and I would like to introduce my question. You said that new generations like kids and teenagers have fresher ideas. Well, we are creative, and we have this new energy to raise our voice and do things for human rights. Why do you think that through the time adults forget about this willingness to preserve the human rights? Thank you.
Why do adults not respect the rights of young people? Why do they forget about all the wonderful qualities of young people? I think it's because when people get older, they like to just, maintain their rights, and they forget about other people. It's like any group that, has more rights. All through history, all kinds of groups have had to stand up for their rights, whether it was people of color, slaves, immigrants, women. And now I see young people as just another group like that. And that democracy will take a great leap forward when your group of young people speaks up for your rights and you start having a say in the policies, laws, and rules that affect your lives. So as far as why, adults want to maintain their power and not some people. Now, a lot of adults want you to have a voice and want you to speak up, like the Tony Blair Foundation and so many others all over the world, your teachers who are helping you to make this day possible. So, I mean, in a way, I think it basically comes down to power a lot of times of who has it and who wants to keep it. And young people are speaking up, like all of you, and saying, no, we want to have some say also. In a county, one city in Maryland, in the United States, the kids and adults working together just passed a law saying that 16-year-olds will now be able to vote there. It's Tacoma Park, Maryland. The 16-year-olds will be able to vote on local elections. They will be able to elect their school board. They will have some say. And that's when things really get better, when you have a voice in the decisions over your lives. And it starts being implemented in policies. Thank you.
Is there a follow-up question or another question from Mexico before we go to our friends in Washington?
That is everything. Thank you.
All right, so let's go to our friends in Washington. Thank you.
Okay, so hi, my name's Autumn Stoll, and I was wondering have you ever had a struggle with your own personal rights, your own personal civil rights, with the exception of your armband situation? Thank you.
Yes, I have very much. I mean, first of all, as I've had to struggle for my own personal rights. I mean, first of all, as a youth, like you said, with the armband, or, as a girl, a lot of people don't want to listen to little girls. They think, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, or, things like that. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. So as a young person, and then also as I got older, as a woman, sometimes people think that, oh, you don't know what is going on, or, you shouldn't talk about that. And then later, when I was a teenager, I became gay. And so then I had to deal with that because I felt very, mixed up about that. I didn't know what to think. But when I was in high school, I had a girlfriend, and then, so I thought, is there something wrong with me? And I was very secretive about it. I was ashamed of myself. I didn't know what to think about all of that. So I had to come to terms with that issue as well. And I didn't talk about it for a long time. But lately I've decided I should talk about it because some kids feel very bad about being gay. And I'm a nurse and I work with kids, and I don't want kids to feel bad, and I don't want kids to hurt themselves. And so I've decided I really should speak up about that also, because it has to do with your rights and my rights too. Thank you.
My name is Sam. I had a question. Do you think the voting age around the nation should be lower, and why? The U.S. or everywhere? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm curious. What do you think, Sam? Do you think it should be lower? And what age?
I'd love it if it was lower, if it was like 16 or 15 or something like that. I feel like there's a lot of informed kids in our schools. So. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should definitely be lower. And as far as what age it should be, I think you young people should have some say about that as well. What would be a good age for voting? I mean, some kids tell me, well, the kids don't know all the issues and they don't know the candidates. But I say, well, fine, you can learn about them. But do you think that the adults really know all the issues and the candidates? It doesn't stop them from, wanting to vote. I think kids should be able to vote in their schools about the policies of their schools and in their local communities and in national issues. Yes, definitely. I think the voting age should be lowered, and there's a campaign. And also I believe that young people should be able to form associations all over the world. In many, many countries, you cannot even have an association unless you're 18 years old. Thank you.
Are there any other questions directly to Mary Beth? Yes? It's hard to see hands raised, so just go ahead and go to the microphone if so.
I was just wondering what the exact name of the court case you participated in was called. My name is Heather. Thank you.
Hi, Heather. The case is called Tinker versus Des Moines Consolidated School District. So it's often called Tinker versus Des Moines. And, I was invited back to Des Moines, speaking of Des Moines, back to the junior high where I was suspended from. This year, I came back in November. I was invited, and I spoke to a huge auditorium of students, and my brother John came. He went to his school also. We spoke at both schools. The superintendent of schools was there to welcome us, and they even dedicated a locker to us. So you see how history can change. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wesley Sawyer, and I had a question. Is your brother also involved in civil rights nowadays? And if so, what kind of stuff is he involved in? Thank you.
My brother John was also suspended. He was in the case also. He mostly works on news issues, keeping up with news for a website called Schema Root. It's SCHEMA-Root. And you can go there and find out about all kinds of issues, and you can find out more about the court case and students' rights and all kinds of interesting things. Thank you. Chris Eckhart was also a plaintiff in the case, but he died last year, sadly. Thank you.
Oh, hi, I'm Kelsey, and I was wondering, do you see any similarities with what you experienced and the U.S.'s ongoing conflicts with the Middle East? Thank you.
What we experienced, yes, of course, there are always similarities with all of the times when people are speaking up and standing up for something that they care about. There's a great similarity. And as I found out, it's a way of life to speak up for a better way, for a more peaceful way. I mean, whether it's students in Tunisia, in Egypt, in Palestine, there's a huge peace movement in in Israel. There are young people are speaking up in every single country, but definitely in the Middle East as well. I mean, Afghanistan, Iraq, everything that's happened there. You know, young people are affected so much, but their voices too often are squashed, are suppressed. And so, yes, wherever young people are speaking up and wherever they're affected by their circumstances that they had no part in making, which is too often the case. There's a great you are linked right now with young people all over the world. And there's a great movement of youth speaking up for justice and for peace and for equality and for a healthy world. And you are linked with them. And when you join with that, it's such an interesting, meaningful life. And as I've found out, it's a good way of life, and it's even fun. Thank you.
Go ahead in Mexico. Oh, we can't hear you. I think you need to unmute your microphone. Thank you.
Oh, it was turned out. I'm Carlos, and I wanted to know about the progress about the equality. I mean, for how long we will have to wait until this progress will be going up, and what would we have to do to do a big change for reaching to it?
Yes, inequality. In the United States, we're living in a time much like other periods where there was a great deal of action. Let's say the 1960s. We're in a period like that now, where there are great issues of inequality, racial inequality and economic inequality, and we have an environmental crisis. So there are great issues to deal with. But it's also similar because people are speaking up to do something about that and to make things better. But Carlos, I think it's something that we have to take action on. We have to find what, I would say, first of all, if there's an issue that you care about, let's say it's inequality, find several others to join with, maybe in your school, maybe in your community. Find out what's already going on in your school, maybe in your neighborhood, in your city, whatever, in your country, and see if you can join up with them and work together with them, because two heads are better than one, of course. And there are lots of times things already going on. As a nurse, we always say in nursing, the first step is to assess. So assess what is the situation and who is working on it right now already. Maybe you can connect with them about it. But I think waiting is not going to work, because it has to be something that we take action on and do something. And it's a lot more fun to do that, believe me. Taking action turns out to be kind of a good way of life. And I'm sure a lot of you already know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Well, that's what I'd like to explore a little bit more is, hopefully students have had an opportunity to really think about, what are the inequalities that they see in their own schools or in their own communities. And I think it would be good to share because your communities are very different from each other. I mean, there are some similarities, but there are also some differences. So perhaps you could talk about what are those issues that you see within your own communities and talk about, what's being done, is there a club at school that's dealing with this? Or have a few of you kind of banded together to do something? Is the government doing anything about it? And if not, what still needs to be done? What can you do? Because I think it's that action. We're hoping that out of this video conference, you will be inspired to take action in your own communities to make your community, your school, just that little bit better. So I'd love to hear, and I think we'd all love to hear from each community, what are the issues, what are the biggest issues of inequality that you see within your communities? And I'm going to open this, I'm going to open this up to everyone. So if someone can just go to the microphone and start talking about it, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Good.
Hi, my name is Heather Wilkinson, and just one thing that I've noticed in my community, especially in my high school, is the division of, I guess you could say, values, like personal values, especially because we have such a large population of LDS people with, which sometimes seem to have, they have very high moral values, and then there's also, but that's I don't know, that sounds bad, but I'm talking about how people divide themselves with people who have high moral standards and low moral standards, and there's not really any connection between the two. And let's see, and I just think that's one of the factors that can be affected by it. So I don't know. I just think that's something to think about. Thank you.
I'm curious, are there ways that your community is thinking about it or talking about how to bring students together so there's dialogue about it or communication about it? Or do you think that's something that needs to be done? Is how do, people who have different worldviews, different faith traditions, how can you work together towards a goal and yet come from different points of view? I think that's something that we're working really hard with students around the world to try and use these dialogue skills that you're learning in the classroom to try and achieve that in your own schools. So do you see any work towards that? Or is this something kind of a call to action that maybe that you want to try and do within your own community? Is there someone in your own class who wants to talk towards that? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wesley Sawyer. So, oh crap, I just spaced out for a sec. Okay, I remember now. So, one thing that I think is a major kind of division is the whole division between Latter-day Saints Christians and then other Christians. But one example I do have of different faiths working together is I have done a lot of volunteer work at a place called UMCOR, which is connected to the Methodist Church, and it's called the United Methodist Committee on Relief. And we've actually, every year, there's a big annual collaboration between the Latter-day Saints Mission Center in Utah and also UMCOR. And so that's one way that I think we've gotten a lot of interfaith cooperation is through this big community service effort and this global effort to reduce suffering in impoverished nations. Thank you.
Mary Beth, did you want to comment on that? I think I had interrupted you. I'm sorry. Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Trying to, oh, can you hear me now? Can you, okay. I mean, it's just great when people reach across from their group to other groups. And then we always want to be making that bigger and bigger so that we can promote understanding. That the main idea in every religion is love and the golden rule. It's expressed in different ways, but we have a lot of things in common across the board. And so anything that builds respect and understanding, that's helping the mission of every religion. And so, yes, I think that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the student in Mexico. Go ahead. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Ruth, and I was thinking that in my community, some of the problems we have, first is like in the school, sometimes we have bullying, and I think that we are violating human rights with bullying, and that is something that we can start changing by ourselves, because you can decide, I'm going to include this person in my group, or I'm going to talk with him or listen to their problems. And also other problems we have is because our state is like very violent sometimes. And we have, for example, journalists that disappear or that are killed because they are saying the truth. And I think that they are two rights that are being violated. The right that we have to know the truth and to know what is happening so we can act and change that, and also the right because of their life and because they can say the truth. Another thing we have is autodefensas. I don't know, autodefense, self-defense. Sorry, I don't know if you have read or heard something about it, but they are like defending their rights supposedly, but also they are violating the Constitution. And there are like many different points of view of this situation. And I think that it's wrong the way they are doing that, because they are hurting some families, and sometimes they are doing things that they are criticizing. But I think that we have to change that problems of security, because that will give Mexico like more rights to be free and to go out without being worried about your security. Thank you.
Can someone, either you or someone in your class, reflect on, are there things being done within your own school or within your community to begin to address some of these issues, these really important issues that you've raised today? Thank you.
Could you please repeat your question, please?
Sure, thank you. I was wondering if students in your school are addressing these, or if they're doing things to try and bring attention to these issues in your community. Are you working together? Are there groups working together to make a change to deal with some of these issues that you've raised? Thank you.
Hi. Well, for example, about bullying, I think that is of every person to decide to change it. So I cannot mention like a special group working on that problem. But well, we have groups of leadership and groups that protect the environment and stuff like that. So they sometimes do activities that include people. So I think that it's helping, and also our teachers that are always like pending on us. And well, about journalists and stuff like that, we actually we're not doing like big things. But the first thing we have to do is to know more about the problem. So I think that we are working on that, because in preparing ourselves on the school is like the first and most important stage of this. And later we can start like working like more on that and knowing more about the problems of our community so we can evolve in a better way. Thank you.
It looks like there's a, yes, please go ahead.
Excuse me, I was just wondering if all the schools have a journalism program.
No. Oh, hi, I'm Sam. At Chief Self, we have a kind of budding journalism program. It's pretty small, and we started with like a monthly paper that we have, but it's not a very big program yet, and I don't think it's kind of died down recently. So I think that's kind of the answer to your question. Thank you.
Students in
And-
Washington. Oh, go ahead. No, Mary Beth, go
No,
ahead.
that's what I was just wondering, the other schools.
Hello, my name is Hector. About the journalist program, we don't have one like a daily paper here at school, but we have a program about prevention and accessory, a prevention program that it not only help us about informing us about our community problems, but also preventing alcohol and drug addictions. But as a journal, we don't have one. Thank you.
Qué lástima.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and yes, we do have a school newspaper here. It is called The Barb, and it just comes out monthly, and it goes over many of the school activities that are going on, such as sports or other academic activities that are going on. Thank you.
As we begin to think about these different issues in your communities that you're concerned about, that you're seeing, that you're experiencing, it might be interesting to think about how to use journalism or perhaps the school newspaper or any of those resources that you have to get your opinion out there, and perhaps many of you are already doing that. I'd love to hear from the school in Washington. You know, what are the issues that of inequality that you're seeing within your own school or within your own community that you're aware of and concerned about? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sam. One issue I think that we have in our community is there's often a divide between students and administration at the schools. So students' opinions aren't always taken into account very seriously. And there's, you know, there'll be rules in place that students really don't like and are very unpopular with the students, but that's I think students feel just don't make sense. Like for example, one recent example was our school ignored one of the detention policies they have, and just they have a detention policy that says each time you're late you get a warning, and then when you're late 3 times you get a detention. Well, the school just decided recently to just anybody who's late, who walks in for whatever reason, any excuse, just get the detention randomly. You know, they do these random tardy sweeps is what they call them. And the students, very unpopular with the students, but they still exist because I think students' voices aren't getting heard. So thank you.
That's a huge issue. As far as tardiness and suspensions and what students are being suspended for. And unfortunately, you students usually have no say about the policy at all. So this isn't a good example that you can practice on. Let's say there's something that's going on that is not fair in your life, in your school, in your world. You have 2 choices. We all do. Number 1, you can do nothing. But that's so boring. Or you can do something. And then let's say you decide that you're going to do something about that issue. Okay, you decide that's going to be your thing to work on. What can you do? You can use your rights. You have your First Amendment rights, the right to free speech, the right to free press, the right to petition, the right to assemble, the right to religion and your beliefs. You can get together with some others, whether it's students and adults, or, you know, and come up with some really creative ideas. Like some students in Rhode Island recently, they were upset because there was a new standardized test, yet another standardized test introduced into Rhode Island. So all the kids dressed up like guinea pigs and rats, and they went to the state legislature. They got on the news. You can check it out. It's the Providence, Rhode Island Student Union. The students are doing that all over the world, just using your creativity. Think of some, ways to speak up, but, to try to work with the administration, not fight, but try to bridge the gap, work together. Juntos. See? Work together. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Autumn, and our school actually has a group called the Student Council where we discuss certain matters, and actually issues were brought up that the students weren't happy with, and they were told, well, sorry, you guys can't do anything about it. Sorry, so you can discuss it, but nothing's going to happen. And so we've tried doing things to solve this, but they won't even listen. And so
yes, well, when you try to change things, and I have the same experience all through my life, even, this month, I try to work on things, and we don't always win. And we run into roadblocks, and people say, no, we're not going to do what you want to do. And so then, we can't give up. Then, you have to regroup, think, okay, well, that didn't work. Now what are we going to do? Try something, keep thinking of your rights, how you could use your rights. Speak up. Maybe just have to, talk to some teachers who agree, or go to the school board. Maybe there's a county council. These kids in another state, their entire band and music program was cut. So they show up at the county council with their empty instrument cases. And they got on the front page of the newspaper saying, without our band program, we can't play the music in our hearts. And, they got their band. So you might have to just, back to the drawing board, keep working at it. And sometimes we're not always going to win, right? But as I said, it's a way of life. Thank you.
Does anyone have any suggestions within the schools? We've heard about lots of issues today and lots of things that your students are concerned about in different communities. And we've heard about what some of you are doing. Do you have any suggestions for each other, or, things that you have found that have worked within your school that you might want to try? It would be fun to kind of share some of those experiences about what has worked when you've wanted to change something and to make a positive change. Can anyone think of an example in your communities where you've seen that? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wesley Sawyer, and well, I wasn't able to say it before, but one issue I think we have at Brighton here that doesn't apply to everyone, but our lacrosse team, we've had a fortunate. And so I think what we've been trying to do to solve that problem and to get access to all these great facilities here at Brighton is, as a team, we've tried to come together and just be good kids, don't get in a car crash, don't go to this alcoholic party, that kind of thing. And also bringing home state titles is also a great way to get Brighton to listen to us and give facilities to us. Thank you.
Wait, can you hold on just a second? We missed the very first part of what you said because of a bandwidth issue. So we missed what the issue was. We heard what you're trying to do, but we missed what the issue was.
Okay. Basically, the issue is our lacrosse team here at Brighton. It's not a school-sanctioned sport. It's still a club, but it's very popular here, but we still aren't able to gain access to a lot of the school facilities and the school fields and weight rooms. And the football team has access to all these, and it seems like some of the football coaches don't want us to have access to these facilities, and I think that's the main issue. And I think the association with the lax bros and how we're all slackers and stoners and stuff is really the main issue, and we're trying to get rid of that because, you know, a lot of us lacrosse players are upstanding 4.0 students, and we don't do drugs and all that. So I think my advice for that kind of problem and what we're trying to do here at Brighton is just help, you know, cleanse our reputation and, you know, show that we're good kids. And yeah. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like there are some stereotypes going on there too, and so perhaps, you know, finding ways to engage in dialogue and to be able to share with each other. And it sounds like that you're starting to do that and you're trying to do that. You know, might be one way to go about it. Does anyone have any other ideas of how to go about making that kind of change and supporting that kind of change in school?
Well, hi. Hi. Well, I have a very general suggestion. I think that for all the problems and to raise our voice, it's the first thing is to not quit. You know, we do not, well, if they're not listening to us, to see other things to do. I mean, other projects, other ways to raise our voice. So this is very general, but do not quit.
That's a wonderful message for everyone to hear. Absolutely. It looks like there's another student in Washington. Go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Diane, and I think last week or something we had this week of World Water Week, and we were talking about plastic waste. And after, like during that week, there was a student in our school that started a plastic bottle petition to reduce our usage of plastic water bottles. So from that week, we learned all about like plastic waste, and we're trying to like get rid of plastic water bottles in our school. Thank you.
That is an excellent example. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, many civil rights leaders and you know, not only the ones that we know about either from history or from the newspaper or from, you know, computer or Google, but those who are working right now are inspired by something. There's something inside them that really inspires them. And you look at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and it was really his faith that inspired him to make changes, to seek for, you know, for equal rights for everyone. You look at Gandhi and you see, you know, an amazing background of just this desire that everyone should be treated the same, you know. And so it's interesting as you look at these leaders around the world, there's something that's burning inside them, something that says we need to make this change. What is it that inspires you to seek this in your community? Is it the fact that you're a citizen of a particular country? Is it, you know, a family value that you've grown up with? Or is it perhaps wisdom from a grandparent who says you must stand up, you know, for other people's rights and for your own rights? Is it perhaps, you know, because of a school that you're part of, you know, that you see what the issues are, you're learning about them, and you're getting together with your friends, and you feel this is important because this is the way you want the world to be. I'd love to hear from you what motivates you, what inspires you to want to make these positive changes in your community. Because sometimes when you get frustrated, when the answer is no, you've got to dig deep into that motivation and remember what that motivation is, to get up, to try it again, to try something new. So I'd love to hear from, you know, a couple of students in each school, what motivates you? And this is going to be very personal motivation, you know, because everyone is motivated by something different. But I think it would be amazing for all of us to hear that. What is it that motivates you? So let's go to our friends in Utah first. If a couple of you can talk about what is it that motivates you to make these changes, to not stay with the status quo, but to work to make sure, you know, that others have the same rights that you do, or to fight for rights so you have the same rights. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Adrian Barlow. For me, I'd have to start with before I came here. I grew up in when I moved here, I came here and came into the school at 9th grade. And I was only in the 9th grade for probably 2 months. And then I was sleeping around from couch to couch, and I ended up in Salt Lake. And so the first official year of school I did that was actually public school was 10th grade. And with that, then I had to leave like all my family behind and do all that. And it's the personal drive that I have something to, like, there's something I can make of myself, because then we weren't, like, we're all working towards the same goal. We were all community. Everything came in. You didn't really have any personal objects that were yours. So it's just, what motivates me is the fact that I now can have a dream. I can now have a passion to follow something. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, that it's that passion that you have, that you can have a dream, that realization that's motivating you. So thank you for sharing that. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jenna, and honestly what motivates me personally is when people do say no, because like when people say no to me, I'm like, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. So I'm a really determined person, so it's my determination that motivates me. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's hear from some students in Mexico. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna, and what most motivates me is like the talent and the development, because it's so sad to see someone with so much talent and just because of some rules they cannot reach their highest. So that is what most motivates me.
And hi, my name is Abraham, or Abraham, or whatever. And and well, what really motivates me is the fact and the feeling of seeing that you're actually making happy someone, that you're helping someone you don't even know, and that you're, well, at least make that person feel something. And the fact that that person says, like, I don't know, well, he doesn't even know me and he's helping me is just amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see some students in Washington ready to respond.
Okay, so my name's Autumn Stoll, and a really big issue for me is like being blonde. Like there's definitely a stereotype that, you know, you're not as smart as everyone else. I definitely get that feedback from teachers and other students, and so it makes me feel like I need to prove that I'm actually just as smart as everybody else, and like I can still like, yeah. Thank you.
So what motivates you, Autumn? What motivates you to do that? Is it what's inside you that motivates you to want other people to see you in a different way? If you kind of dig down, what is that motivates you to keep on doing that?
I want to prove that I'm just as good as them, and like I'm just as smart, and like I don't want to be looked down on.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and I know your friend was speaking. Thank you.
I'm Megan, and I have a younger sister, so even beyond almost any choice I make in life, I want to choose based on how she will see me, and I want to make a world better for her. And so Yeah, so even when it comes to personal decisions like what I should do on my weekends or things like that, I want to make a decision that she will see and she will choose in her future. Thank you. Thanks.
Does anyone who hasn't spoken yet want to come forward and talk about what really motivates them? If there is perhaps a different motivation that we haven't heard about yet, to really make a change, to really stand up and use your voice to make a positive change in the community. Is there anyone? I encourage you to really reflect on that, because I think that's an important piece in all of this, is thinking about what is that motivates you. Go ahead. We'd love to hear from you in Washington.
My name is Michael, and I'm working with an organization here in Seattle called Global Visionaries. And I work with pro-justice, so we teach different types of oppression to other youth, and we've taught over 80 youth across the Seattle area this year. And what motivates me is when I went through the program, your first year you have a cultural immersion experience in Guatemala, and you do community service in Seattle and Guatemala. And actually going to Guatemala and seeing the injustice and the oppression that happens there, more extreme than in the U.S., kind of pushed me to teach others and actually show others what is happening and what they can do to change it.
So, Cal, can I ask you? So it was seeing the inequality that motivated you to make things more equal.
Yes.
It was seeing reality, how it was more clear, close up.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I guess seeing, because going through every day, it's just a routine, I guess, and not really seeing the world for what it is, and seeing, because another thing in the program we learn about is what the U.S. isn't telling us and what they cover up with their interactions with other countries and other nations, especially with Guatemala. In the Guatemalan Civil War, the U.S. had a huge part in helping the government shut down the people and not let them speak. And so that's another thing that we saw in Guatemala at the time, because there's only the richest families in Guatemala controlling the government, and that's another thing we learned. Thank you.
I think you bring up a very important point of that personal experience and actually being present and learning from those around you, and then taking that back and having that personal relationship, either if an experience has happened to you and you're feeling the injustice yourself, or you're seeing it firsthand and are in a relationship and engaged with people who are feeling and living that injustice. That is an amazing motivator as well. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that experience of yours. And I can tell that it's really, shaped who you are and motivating you to continue with that. So thank you for that. Mary Beth, I know we only have about 14 minutes left of our video conference, and I want to make sure that you have time to kind of reflect on what have you heard today? What have you seen from the students, and are there challenges that you can give them? The students have mentioned many different issues that they see within their own community. Some of them are similar, but some of them are very different and very, linked to the context in which they live. So, perhaps there are some challenges that you can give to them. So when they leave this video conference, they'll be able to keep those in their head, and that will hopefully motivate them to continue to make or start to make changes in their communities. Thank you.
I think we know from our own experiences and from listening to all of you today that when you do get out and get active and join up with others on something that you care about and make a better world, whether it's working, with LDS and Methodists or going to Guatemala to learn more about that, or, in Mexico, learning about your community there and taking a stand on different things there. And there is so much. It makes it better. You feel good. It's, it gets so disheartening. I think that's one of the biggest things we all have to, try to work on and deal with, is that just looking at the world, sometimes you feel sort of overwhelmed and you can get kind of down, and we have to, find a way to still keep hopeful and keep working on things. And a lot of that energy and tapping into your motivation, finding what motivates you and trying to, keep it going. And it makes you feel good when you do something and take some action, and you know that you're making a world that's better, that's improving understanding. We have these rights, but we have to use them or we can lose them. If just accepting the way things are. A lot of times people of all ages, as a nurse, the other nurses, and they may complain to me about things in our hospital, this or that, but if we're not doing something about it, then I guess it must be okay to just leave it the way it is. But doing something about these things is where life gets really good. And I think we've heard that today. When you do something and you think about it, but also, of course, we have to know what's going on in the world and open our eyes to that bigger world of what's going on, and be aware that it's a big world out there, and we can't just be satisfied with being involved with our own little circle. We have to open up to and that's what this program is so wonderful, because it's people coming together from all different places and seeing a different vision and different things. So I just encourage everybody to keep it up. And as one high school student told me recently, an 11th grade boy, he said, it's really all about love. And really, I think he's probably right. It is about love. Even the First Amendment is about how we treat each other with respect and differences, treating people with differences with love. And we need to love our world and love our communities and make things better. A more loving world is what we're going for here. So thank you all today for having me here. It was really wonderful to be with all of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your reflections and your challenge to continue the work that I know you students are doing. And now I'd really love students, I'd love in this last 10 minutes for you all to really reflect. What have you learned today? What are you taking away from today? And what are you hoping to do in your community? All right. So what kind of, what are you wanting to do as you leave this video conference and hopefully are inspired to make the changes that you want to see in your community? So let's hear from about, 3 or 4 students from each school, because I know you'll all have different perspectives about what you've learned, what you've heard, and you each have different issues that you're interested in working on. So I'd love to hear from, 3 or 4 students from each school reflecting on what you've learned and then what you're going to take away and what you plan to do after this video conference. I see a student there in Utah, so we'll start with you. Thank you.
Say something.
Okay, hi, my name is Wesley Sawyer. You didn't know that yet. So I think what I've really learned from this is that a lot of us have the same problems, and a lot of us have the same troubles in getting involved. But I think what I'm going to take away with this is that we all are inspired by similar things, and we all ought to be inspired by each other, and how, we all have this desire. And I think that's really what I'm going to take away with this, how we all have the same drive, the same desire, and hopefully that will drive me to get more involved in my community and go give back and do more community service. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tara, and I learned a lot about I feel really inspired to go out and do something and not get embarrassed or quit because my friends or parents don't agree with me or anything. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Taylor, and today I learned a lot about how we as students we do have civil rights and we can use them. And I liked how Mary Tinker talked about we have to use our rights or we're going to lose them, and I think that really stuck with me. So thank you.
Okay, so hi, I'm Colby, and I just wanted to say that after today's discussion, I felt really inspired from the other students' perspectives and how they're inspired from the things that they're inspired from. And I just feel like I need to do more in my life to take action, and when I see oppression, to do something about it. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for those reflections. Absolutely. Now let's go down to Washington. Actually, it's up to Washington State, but in my screen, I'm moving down to you guys. Thank you.
Oh, am I going? Okay, so I'm Autumn Stoll, and a takeaway from this is that even though we all live in different places, we all struggle with the same root issues. And something that I want to do to make a difference is definitely get my voice and the students' voices heard at our school. Somehow, getting involved with the board, or I don't know, just figure out a way, because what we're doing right now isn't working. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelsey, and I've always been interested in helping the world on a global scale, like the UN and stuff. But I realized that I really have to start with my community first, so I'll be looking at programs that I can do that through. Yeah, thanks.
Hey, my name's Ben, and I was really inspired by how the same we all were and how we were struggling with the same things and how we all want to make things better within our communities or within the whole world. And that really hit me. Thank you.
I'm Brad, and it's nice to see that even though we all live apart, we all got to deal with the same problems. And I feel like as a community, if we all combine our forces, we can actually make a difference. And I think that'd be the best thing to do, because we're all young people, we're all inspired, we all want to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, let's hear from our friends in Mexico.
Hi, Ruth again. And I was thinking that during this conference that human rights or civil rights are what honors our dignity. So it's very important that we work together to defend them in our communities. Like small changes and then bigger changes will come. And we have to first make people know their rights, so they can defend them with their hearts. And I think that I want to take action, like here in my school or in a group that I have on Saturdays. And we do social action, and we visit kids or things like that. So I think that it's the best opportunity to be closer to others and to know their necessities so I can help them. And well, I hope you do big changes in your communities, and I support you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nico, and I think there is a lot of problems in all the world, and we need to, all together, we need to get rid of them to progress and to live in a better world. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Luis, and first of all, I would like you to thank you for this video conference. And after that, I think that I can't do anything after this video conference, but I am influenced. I think I can do greater things than help people. For example, I've been living in different parts of Mexico, and I've seen different situations, and all those situations have something in common. That is working together. If we work together, we can go further. Thank you.
Well, hi, my name is Gustavo. I got really inspired by the story of Mary Tinker. Yeah, that's your name, I think. That's what I can read. Well, you live during a really delicate decade, I think, uh, and I think it was pretty amazing. You did with your brother that because it was a hard time, and if you could do it, everybody can do it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Mary Beth, I'm going to give you an opportunity if you want to say your goodbyes to the school. Oh, we can't hear you, sorry.
I'm trying to follow the rules.
There you go.
Thank you. It's so good to be with everyone, and I just want to thank you for your wonderful comments and for your plans and your current activities, taking action, making a better world. And I just encourage you to, like Kristen said, dig deeper when you go out and do your projects or things to make the world better. Dig deeper. Think about the reason. Maybe if you're helping the homeless, think about why do we have homeless? Maybe we could change the policies. Maybe we could look at the legislator, the decisions that are made to really prevent homelessness. In healthcare, we try to get to the deeper cause. Don't just treat the fever or the problem. And that's what nurses have done a lot is, take care of the problem. Let's go deeper. Let's have kids really have a say about why we have these problems in the first place and how can we change and prevent these problems in the first place. So that would be my great challenge. See if you can get involved in the policies, the rules, the laws, instead of all of us, nurses, kids, we're always expected just kind of to pick up the pieces and go out and take care of the results of the issues. But we want to actually have, you want to have a say about the future of how we handle these things in the future. So that would be my challenge. And thank you so much for having me here today. It's just been wonderful. I hope maybe some of you will keep in touch too. You can always write to me at marybethtinker@gmail. You can follow our Tinker Tour at Tinker Tour. And so keep in touch or write to me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today and really getting to know you and hearing your story, but also the amazing work that you are continuing to do every day and all of the young people that you are inspiring to use the rights that they have to make the changes that need to happen in their schools, in their communities, and in their countries. So thank you so much. I want to thank Sanjay, who's been wonderful behind the scenes, making sure that all of our technology has gone smoothly today. I want to thank all of your teachers who have supported you and prepared you for this video conference today. Without, your teachers engaging in this program, we certainly wouldn't have a program. But I want to thank students. You are amazing. And I'm so glad to hear that you've inspired one another. You certainly have inspired us with your passion, with your voices, to make the changes that you want to see in the world. So thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for opening up and engaging in wonderful dialogue today. I want to invite you to go to our online community to continue this dialogue. I'm sure that after you leave, you will say to yourself, oh, I wish I had said this, or I wish I had told them about that, or I had this question to ask. There is a forum on the online community that I hope that you'll all go to and continue the dialogue online. But thank you, everyone, and I invite you to open up your microphones and say goodbye to one another. But it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Mucho
Thank you
gusto.
so much.